know us, finish the sentence.
Yeah,
like us,
trust us.
and trust us. And it's false. It's false. It's false. It's not true. The neuroscience says it. True. Our highest value client, Ian, as you know, has paid us, well over $1 million for what we do for them. If you can't describe what you do in 8 words or less, people are confused.
All right. We're going to talk about recalibrating your business, your marketing on this Garlic Marketing Show, getting you going in the right directions. Maybe your leads are off. Maybe your sales are off. Maybe you feel stuck in your sales process and it's just not going in the right direction. You're not sure which way to go with AI. I've got the amazing Dan Kuschell on today. Dan, say hi.
Hey.
And we're going to talk about how they get paid $1 million by one client. The 2 exercises that you can do right now to recalibrate your business, get it going in the right direction, including the 8-word exercise, the lie of know, like, trust, how to figure out the places you need to optimize right now by this 5 rating system, how they built a 7-figure business with only 400-person audience, the power of candy and cloning, and what you should be doing right now in AI, and how you connect with Dan. All this on the Garlic Marketing Show. It's going to be awesome. All right, we've got a legend here. We're going to talk about scaling business. And when you truly talk about scaling business, there's so many people out there who use that word scale, but very few have actually done it. I've got someone who's done it several times and has done it again to the tune of billions of dollars. My good friend, brilliant marketer, and just all around awesome dude, Dan Kuschell, or as Siri likes to call him, Dan Kuschell. Dan, thanks for being on.
It's awesome to be here, Ian. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to talk today. I think this is so important. I've been to some of Dan's events. If Dan and I put on events together, and every time someone comes to one of these, it's completely different. They're small, and he brings together an awesome group of people, but top marketers, top business owners. And sorry, I'm doing all talking here, but I just think it's so important for people to realize is everyone in there gets something out of it, but their business advances when they leave because they're recalibrating their business. So few times do we get to recalibrate our business, and we sometimes do it at like the beginning of the year or once a year instead of thinking, hey, I should be doing this quarterly and really looking at it. So Dan, let's talk a little bit. I mean, you've been on before, but how many businesses have you grown, and when did you realize this idea of just like recalibrating?
Well, let's talk about why recalibrate and or becoming invaluable, right? Which all of us want to be, especially in times of uncertainty like this, or, ad costs are exploding and, lower conversion rates, lower engagement, et cetera. So the why really, think about it, we share some common things, Ian, and I think a lot of people that come into our world do is, you think of ourselves as a husband or spouse, a father, a grandpa, or is it consumed mostly by the business and we're giving our family, our kids, our grandkids leftovers?
Yeah.
Now, the truth is for me, Ian, I was a consummate type A, I still am, but today I just got better boundaries. And so for me, it was a wake up call, back a couple of weeks after my son was born. I had a couple of companies that were emerging and growing, and we were full throttle. We had grown up to 170 employees in one of the companies and a bunch in another 8-figure company we were running. And I woke up a few weeks after Kyler was born and I had some chest pains. Long and the short, I ended up in a hospital for 4 days. I had a heart procedure. I had to sign a disclaimer. It said, Dan, you have a 1 in X chance of dying on the table. And it changed my whole perspective of recalibrating, right? And not only becoming invaluable in business, but becoming invaluable at home with my spouse, with my kids, with, et cetera. And it didn't happen overnight by any means, but, that old idea of good to great, Jim Collins, I had a very good business. Things were emerging, Ian. I made some critical decisions on what was important, what I wanted, what I didn't want, who am I really, what do we stand for? And then ultimately came up with a new blueprint to go for it. In less than 2 years, I had grown the company exponentially, set the stage, and I sold both companies and then semi-retired. And what I'm proud of today, even though I didn't stay retired very long, about 18 months or so, I started focusing on the holistic approach. I don't believe in balance. I believe integrated. And so, becoming invaluable and recalibrating is recalibrating mentally, physically, socially, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. As you know, I was over 85 pounds heavier than I am today, and I kept it off because of recalibration, like the before and after. I had a very first marriage. I mean, we ended up in divorce. I went through that process, which was, really rough and such. But then I found my best friend, my soulmate, my partner, and you've met T. And that's because I recalibrated, right? Because I thought to go build stuff, you had to give up all kinds of stuff. And you do have to sacrifice. If you want something, you got to be obsessed and consumed in a lot of ways. But I found that there was a whole different way to go about it. So what we do with this process that's unique is you experience it's so unique, and everybody that attends, especially the first time, they're like, this is the most unique thing I've ever been to. People who are typically like even introvert leaders, they don't really integrate a lot or don't feel like they do. Like we create that almost like popcorn in a small environment. We bring people together to solve real problems, to really focus on truly what people really want in their business, at home, relationships, family, and so on. And then ultimately interact with each other to solve those problems, to be a student, yes. But more importantly, as you've experienced, Diane, like through the whole day, we're showing up as teachers through the process. Everybody is, and everybody grows. It's like a massive exponential tide lifting the boat. And I found that this process works, and I love facilitating it to see the experiences and also the game-changing things, the partnerships, which is, as you and I've talked about it, people walk out of there with so many amazing partnerships that they would have never thought possible, even walking into a room of like 20 people like this. And it's, it creates this unique experience. And that's what I love to be able to do, only once or twice a year at most, to be able to create these, opportunity to connect, collaborate, to create together, co-create something together that is that next level. So, yeah.
When you're doing this, why you mentioned at a high level what's important, but what do you see that gets, because you work with a lot of businesses, what do you see that gets out of whack if you don't do this?
The focus on tactics, right? We see it symptomatically under the hood of the car, disorganized systems, lack of systems, and, not only in the buckets of sales, in the buckets of marketing, operations, and fulfillment, the owner wearing lots of hats or stepping into all those kind of roles at different stages versus having it system driven. We see, quietly, I won't mention names here, but many, as you know, and you've met some, and you've been in the room with this multiple times, Ian, is they're quietly suffering with certain pieces that I'll call it the disorganized chaos that's creating some burnout and overwhelm quietly, right?
Yeah.
The surface can look great, but underneath it's like, is this really what I'm going to be doing the next 12 months, 18 months? And so we're able to really pinpoint on these things and then really create a vehicle to solve those things, to simplify, right? So it's a simplify mechanism. Common things we also see people, struggling with related to growth exponentially with more sanity and simplicity is tactic driven versus principles, and how to connect those dots, because it's always like the old adage, Ian, like the Loch Ness monster. Lots of people profess to talk about it, they just haven't seen it really in real life in their own own world. And then almost it's like, oh my gosh, and then they see the sun, like they were in a dark room, and then they come in and get access to our stuff, and they're like, oh my God, like, oh, there is a simpler way. Oh, there is a more holistic way. Oh, I don't have to like feel this kind of, anxiety and lack to the other things that are important to me. I can focus on my sweet spot. I can create the team around me, implement and execute rapidly, have a team that supports me, and really grow a great business. And so going from, lack of clarity or inconsistent or low quality leads, going from inconsistent sales because they feel the pressure many times as the founder, because we work mostly with founders and or their key right hand or left hand person, as you know, Ian.
Yep.
Is they're like, I'm the main driver, I'm the one, and all the revenue's on me. Well, what would happen if that wasn't the case? What if you had daily leads coming in, weekly sales or daily sales, even for some companies who really want to get aggressive and apply what we show them and implement for them? And then also then be able to optimize and scale it. And then, like we were just talking before the show, Ian, partnerships and how big of a role that plays. It's not we're agnostic. People go, well, do you guys like focus on like Meta or these or that? We're agnostic. Our focus is actually build spokes in the wheel. Why? Because we see this all the time. This is another common thing, especially we work with a lot of service business owners, as and then we see this with experts and coaches and consultants too, is they have like one main traffic source. Many are referrals, word of mouth, and that's very cyclical and very unpredictable, inconsistent. And then sometimes they'll have one media thing. And then what happens, they'll get a run going, let's say of success. And then let's say the algorithm changes and their business just takes a deep dive off a cliff. And where does that leave people? They did all the things right theoretically. So what we look to do in our model, and whether they work with us or work with someone, is this idea of build spokes in your wheel, because it builds and then it protects against the offsets, almost like what a really good, healthy wealth management portfolio would do, diversifying properly, right? And not too fast, because you go one at a time, but get those things in place. And partnerships is one of the greatest vehicles to be able to do that. And because of our network, like yours and others, Dr. Jeremy, who introduced us together years ago, is this idea that you can set up partnerships, just like, why does Microsoft and Apple work together? Why does Microsoft and Intel and these companies, why are they in partnerships together? Yet small business owners are like, no, it's like even us, like, there's some overlap in what we do, but we're not competitors and we got a whole different audience, but we can work together and collaborate and make more magic happen than just on our own. And so that's what ultimately some of the things that I think people, their minds are open and expanded, and they don't just see it, Ian, they experience it like right in the room together as we go unfold the way we do it.
Yeah. And it's well structured. If someone's sitting there and you're talking about inconsistent sales and inconsistent leads, but really what's going on? Like if I need for me to know, hey, I really need to recalibrate my business, and what's one or two things I can do right away? Is there, what are some of the exercises that you consider doing right away that they can do before even coming to an event that it actually even make them even better set up for the event?
Yeah, so we actually facilitate when people enroll to attend. So one is clarity on your true vision and growth plan, right? And engineer it. And do some simple things. Well, okay, if I want to grow my business, but to whatever, an extra 10 million this year or $1 million, whatever your number is as you're watching this right now, just pick the number and then do some simple math. Okay, well, how many customers of X do I need to hit that number? And start with one service or product category that you may have. Then go to the second and so if you're newer and you've got just one or two product or service categories, right? You'll fill in the blank on both to whatever that goal is. And I would do both separately, because then it's blended. And then but once you see it, like, for example, like our highest value client, Ian, as you know, has paid us, well over $1 million for what we do for them. Like we're free to them. We expect to be free. And we're not going to talk about that part of our business today, but we expect to be free in what we do in driving execution in this fractional CMO and execution team, right? And if we're not, we don't expect to continue to work with a client. It's pretty simple, right? It's a love it or leave it kind of model. However, like to add an extra $1 million, like that could be one client for our type of business. As you're watching or listening right now, that might be 12 clients or 20 clients or 50. But whatever services or products, especially your premium things, pick your number that you want to get to. Let's say it's an extra 10 million. Okay, to get an extra 10 million this year, theoretically, if you're going to play big, is okay, I would need X number of people to buy this premium thing. And again, just put it out there, then go to your second service and then go, okay, to add 10 million in this product category, what would I need? Third, fourth, and you can itemize it just depending on how big or small you are. So it's reverse engineering the math, then go, okay, that's where I want to go. Now let's look, this is such a simple thing to be able to do. Okay, how many have I had this year in those categories, or this month or this quarter? And what people will quickly do is it goes to, the proverbial 80-20 kind of thing. Lots of people are putting focus on things that don't matter, don't mean stuff, yet they're convinced that it will work eventually, but that it's not been working for a year, but they're still. So one of the things that we bring is the clarity with this exercise that's so simple, where you start eliminating the things that are not the needle movers and or add new things that might be the needle movers, right? Yep. So that's one. A second one, stop me, because I can just,
No, keep going. Yeah.
So message, this is another big one. Most people's messages are off.
Oh yeah.
And recalibrating a message can make such a difference. And here's a couple things to do. I've been fortunate, to do some, extra stuff with Damon John and his team over time, as you know. And Damon has a great book called The Power of Broke. And he says, if you can't describe what you do in 8 words or less, your people are confused, right? So that comes down to your core message. So here's the thing to think about. What is it you do that only you do better than anybody else in the world? What problem do you solve? Right? This old adage, for example, as you've heard me say before, Ian, lots of people have been taught this old strategy that to get people to buy from us, they must know us, like us,
trust us.
And trust us. And it's false.
Yep.
It's false. It's false. It's not true. The neuroscience says it. True relationship experts will say it. No, you need them to know you. If they don't know you, they ain't going to you. Same thing in dating. If they don't know who you are and you're standing next to each other, but you never talk to them, they don't know you. So they ain't going to you. You're not getting that chance, right? So they got to know you. They got to respect you that you can solve a problem.
Yep, exactly.
They got to respect. That's the second thing. And then trust. They have to trust your motive that you have their best interest in mind to help them.
Yeah.
And work with them, right? When you have those three, usually a byproduct of that is actually they like a likability factor, but it's not required.
It's not
for
required.
People to buy.
No.
Right? Yeah. So many people try to build their messaging around likability instead of this framework we're talking about. And I'm collapsing it, of course, but what is it you do better than anybody in the world that no one else can do and lay claim to? And how do you keep it so simple that, Dean Graziosi, another past client of ours, says, keep it so low the goats can eat it, which is, what is that for you? Like you have YouTube. What pops up for you, Ian, as far as how you would describe your unique message to your market?
We help someone become a trusted authority and pre-sell people using YouTube. Yeah.
Perfect. Right. If I were going to co-create that just a little bit, I would then add this. Well, do you know how a lot of people struggle to get authority, get attention, and feel like they're having to sell hard? Most people that are in business would probably lean into that a little bit just based on that question. You go, what we do is we help create instant authority using YouTube to help your clients get pre-sold. Boom.
Yeah, that's much better.
Right?
And right. I'm going to stop you there, folks.
Okay.
Folks, I want you to realize that this is the power, because you're especially if you think you're a great marketer, or you're like, all this stuff. And you're like, it's the tactic. And most time it's a high level strategy that's off because, like Dan said at the beginning, you've been chasing tactics and it's so hard to see the forest through the trees. And this is why recalibration, having someone else help you is so important. This is why I love doing it. Because we get, I'm in my studio and I'm by myself and I'm doing my work and you're leading all day and you think you have to have all the answers. And sometimes I can't tell you how many times I've encountered people that are just way too close. I mean, everyone is. And what Dan just showed you, it seems simple, but it's years of experience that just happened in a second. And I think this is the power, because it's like, hey, I can tell you what not to do too, which is super, super, super important. Marketing isn't just about doing stuff. It's about knowing what not to do. So anyways, I want to stop you there because it happened so fast. I wanted to do like a slow motion replay and explain to people what just happened. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And then to plus that, by the way, right? Like let's say someone's message is absolutely dialed in, right? That happens occasionally. It's rare that it couldn't be recalibrated to make it even better. It's rare. Occasionally happen. Okay. Well, now let's go look at all your assets. Like let's go to your homepage. Is it up as the header? And they're like 99% if they have it, which is rare. Then you go look at their header on their website, or go look at their header on their YouTube channel, or go look at the header on LinkedIn, or go look at the other assets they've got. And it's like the Loch Ness Monster. Heard about it. I'm not seeing it. Okay. How's that working for you? Right.
It's amazing to me. I mean, because like that seems so obvious to me, but like how many times people are like this, like they have a headline that I'm like, I have no idea what you do. Or they say like, hey, widget stuff thing. Especially when you get into super technical stuff. And I'm like, no one, like, you're like, we're super meta ad experts. And I'm like, A, that's not, anyone can write that. And B, that doesn't turn me on. And then even further, people get so involved in their content that you can't tell that they're open for business. Like, what do I do? How do we work together? So I think, once again, this recalibration is so important because we can go down that path so fast, so often.
Yeah, and would it be all right, Ian, if I give a quick, I think in terms of dials, right?
Yep.
As you have experienced our event, we come in, we have this process we take through and assess the business in essentially 20 categories, if you remember the scorecard, and really pinpoint and then focus like right now, what's most important, what's next, what's later, kind of thing. I'm not going to go through that full thing because that'll take a little bit too long. We do that through the day. That way someone's walking out with their custom plan that's important now, that are the needle movers, right? So here's a mini one that and stop me if you think this is off, but as you're watching right now, here's a quick assessment you can do. And again, there's more to this. I'll give you the base version, but in our process, there's 5 key pillars. So one is, as you're watching, just do a quick self-assessment on a 1 scale, low, 10 high. Assess your vision and growth plan for your goals. Like, how clear is it? 1 low, 10 high. Okay, now go to the next one. In your business growth, the next phase in our process are called connection models and campaigns, right? Connect. Lots of people say go post content everywhere. It's the first step. You got to connect. Again, it starts back with the know, trust, like. This is a phase that's a bridge from the vision and growth plan to actually connect to your audience, to go from being like invisible to and world best kept secret to visible authority, kind of like what Ian was talking about with what he does, and also at scale, right? So connection campaign. So rate your ability to connect at scale, 1 low, 10 high. That's the second one. Third one is lead machines. Definition of this, most people struggle. They have inconsistent leads or low quality leads coming in daily, right? And then on the other end, they have leads coming in every day, right? So rate yourself lead machines, ideally to the optimum of daily leads, daily high quality leads, 1 low, 10 high. Rate yourself there. Fourth, conversions. We call these education-based conversion models on purpose to avoid overselling. The great businesses in the world, as you know, Ian, they have buyers models, Apple, Starbucks, the NFL. Lots of our clients integrate this approach, which works really well. And you do this, like, even though you might not call it that, you do it. Like we're doing it right now as a piece. Education-based conversion events just shorten the sales cycle, and it feeds into the thing that's been talked about for the last year pretty heavily now, which is Google's report on the 7 hours of consumption, 11 interactions, 4 different platforms. Education-based events can collapse time in the process for it. So how would you rate, as you're watching right now, your education-based conversion? In other words, sales. 1 low, 10 high. The fifth is then your ability to go deep, scale, and implement. The main one being implement. Like, can your team keep up with you? Are you beyond you, right? Low, 1, 10 high. And so if you do that quick assessment, identify where you're weak at, and then put your focus on the needle movers that'll drive it up, right? And whether you work with us, whether you work with Ian and the amazing solutions he's got, is ideally you can take this quick assessment right now and go put some things into action. If you want our help, if you want Ian's help, you want our help, just reach out.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you guys do different stuff than us too. So it's, and I think those ratings are super important, and it is that assessment. And then having someone help you figure out where the problem is, like, cause I was talking to a client who had 200 qualified leads, and he's like, I need to work on SEO and get ranking higher and more traffic. I'm like, no, you don't.
Exactly. Most people are sitting on so many leverageable assets. It's kind of like this. It's this thing.
Yeah.
Times 2. They're too close to it, right? For them to see the blind spots. And then it's, oh my gosh, right? Kind of, as I imagine you probably shared with them, if they had 200 qualified leads, like if you put a little campaign and follow up together, what would that different? Yeah. And it doesn't have to be complicated fun. This is the other thing. So many tactical, so much confusion, so much overwhelm. We had a guy named Bruce. I think you've heard me talk about Bruce before, but Bruce was this amazing guy, artist, right? An artist, and he was following like 7 different experts, and he was dabbling in trials of 4 different tech platforms. He was just confused. And when we met him, we said, Bruce, let's slow this all down, kind of like what we're talking about here. Simplify it. Let's simplify it. What do you want to do? His vision was to build his coaching program separate of his art business. Okay, great. What's your goal? Okay, well, how big's your audience? He had like a 400 person list and social media total. Like it was very small. So we gave him the tips to reach out to those people because he did have good relationship capital with them. He invited them to an education-based event, started presenting his art, showing him how to do the fundamentals, and then offered his coaching program. In the first 30 days, he got 39 new coaching clients. He got 117, and he's built a well over 7-figure business over time because of just keeping it simple. Like it doesn't need to be complicated tech or camp. And he was doing it literally, inviting people using messages we gave him that we helped craft, kind of like what we just did is the mini version here, inviting them to a Zoom registration page, and then making his, showing up once a week and making that offer. And he created this cascading momentum and built at that time, a 6-figure business, right? So many simple things matter, but sometimes we can be too close to it and we just don't see those blind spots, right, Ian? And having that other perspective and being in a collapsed frame. And the other reason we like to do these micro days, like, as you know, like I like the 1-day approach, real focused, in and out, bond, connect, collaborate. We break bread together. We include lunch, we include dinner, afterwards. We do a hike usually or do some activity the next day for those who can stay, but it's really micro condensed because people are busy. Like as a dad, as a grandpa, right? I coach, different sports for family, and a lot of our types of clients do too. So I think they appreciate the simplicity and also the time management factor of this to really dive deep to get the growth.
And folks, if you want to apply to come to one of these events, if you have a business, Dan, what would you say is a good range for the business? I mean, you've had people with up to $50 million businesses, and we got to meet some amazing $1 billion business owners at one. But what would you say is a good range, the right person to come?
I'm going to talk about values to start with. So someone who shares our core values, here are the 3. 1, hyper growth minded, like you're growth minded, you believe in growth, that sort of thing, right? So you're growth minded. Number 2 is you're teamwork and collaborative, right? I'm an introvert by nature. I've got high school friends and some of my friends from when I was a kid, they're like, I can't believe you're doing what you're an introvert. I still am an introvert. I'd rather kind of be by myself with my wife than being in big groups at all, which is part of the reason we do smaller groups, because it's what fits me. And that's the other part, is what fits you. So, but if you're teamwork and collaborative and you like the brainstorm, you like to get other perspectives and viewpoints respectfully, then that's a second core value, teamwork and collaboration. And we believe innovation happens with true teamwork and collaboration, right? And if you're the smartest person in the room, probably in the wrong room. And this is a place where people can come to elevate the room they're in, is focused beyond money. And that the strategic byproduct of money is the impact you're making, right? I love Naveen Jain's quote from Forbes, which was, well, all you have to do to build $1 billion business is help 10 billion people. He said it as a matter of fact in his quote. And in a lot of ways, it's true, right? And so we do feel very responsible to help our clients financially succeed, right? But the kind of clients that fit us, as you've met a lot of them, and also attendees at our events like this, is they're impact driven as much as they are about getting their business to another level. So those are 3 qualities, the range of size with those 3 values. Typically, it's someone in the next 12 months that wants to add anywhere from 1 to 3 million minimum to their growth, right?
Gotcha.
And apply these kind of strategies and be around that kind of peer group of 7 and 8 figure type business owners.
And if they want to apply, they can just email you, correct?
Yeah, I think the easiest way, let's do a demonstration. You don't need fancy pants funnels. You don't need fancy pants tech or, that sort of thing. If you have an interest in just even learning more about what we're doing, and or you'd like to learn about attending our upcoming event, we've got a few seats available. You'll meet some of our clients, some of our strategic partners. It'll be a small group of 20-ish type people. You can send an email to, that's Dan@breakthrough3x.com, and we can get you the details and see if we're aligned and a fit and go from there.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. So, Dan, you said no fancy funnels. I want to talk a little bit about, because you said, hey, some simple funnels, but how important is, where do you draw the balance of automation and personalization? We
look at it, one of our frameworks that that I think of, which is maybe why you brought it up, Ian, is romance in advance. So instead of thinking tech and fancy pants funnels, just think of romance and being a human being, right? We call it HOP. HOP, humanize it, optimize it, personalize it. And that works wonders. Now, you can do that one-to-one in physical settings. You can do that with some of the tech, makes it much easier. Like when I first got started, I started my first company all the way back 30 some years ago where this stuff wasn't available. So it was person to person primarily. Today, though, you can really amplify what we're doing and hyper personalize things if we want to. But I see too many businesses, too many founders that are early in their development that automate, frankly, they automate themselves right out of business.
Oh yeah.
Because they have removed the idea of romance, person to person, people to people type communication, and this idea of HOP, humanize, optimize, personalize. And so it's using this stuff as a tool, AI, using, tech, using automations as a tool, but not a substitute for just be a good human being, show up. If you just show up, I think my dad took me to a sports clinic when I was 10. I was the only kid in this thing. It was all coaches and, higher level athletes, college and pro at Eastern Michigan University. And there was a page in there. It said that 90% of success is showing up.
Yep. It's true.
And if you just show up first and foremost, frequently and consistently, right, you will be amazed. That's where the second part of our vision and growth plan goes to connection, because it's about a connection, not an impression, not how much volume of impressions. When you're not connecting, you got to connect first. And then if you are connecting, you can take that and scale it with all kinds of things, like video is a way to scale it. Like you're one of the best in the world at showing people how to do that. Like that's an example of an automation tool. I'm big on, I learned it, from one of my early mentors who said, you put yourself in a situation where you can get to one to many.
Yep.
Right. Quickly. And I think the late Gary Halbert used to say it's can and clone. So video, to me, is a form of automation, tech, AI to a degree, because it allows you to take a message, connect with the right audience, and then amplify it and magnify it at scale. Like one of our clients, for example, Ian Joe, who ultimately, when we met him, it really had no digital background. It was a more brick and mortar type business in manufacturing and printing. We worked with Joe. We did a lot of things in that five pillars. But one of the things that was a needle mover was as we helped amplify who he was in the market to his ideal perfect audience. Well, over a period of about 18 months before he sold, he had over 3.5 million views of a series of like 6, 7, 8 really critical videos for his clients that we strung together kind of in a sequence, right? Strategic, principle-based, and some tactics tied together, right? But the bigger thing was the strategic thinking through, like, okay, what's the problem a client wants solved? What's the top 3 to 5 frequently asked questions they've got, and stringing that as part of the process, and then leading them through a pathway to ultimately get closer to a yes and a conversation. Well, lo and behold, he had over 3.5 million views, generated, a steady flow of leads coming in daily, weekly, monthly, and clients, and ultimately was able to have a dream come true experience of selling his business eventually, right?
Yeah.
That's one tool. It wasn't the only reason. They had a great team. He'd been around, reputation, all those. So we're just a piece in this, but it's applying these things, not letting automation dictate what to do or not to do, but simplify, humanize, optimize, personalize. Don't automate yourself out of business.
Yeah, no.
We see it happen so often.
So
Integrate
often.
it. Use it as a tool where you
And
can.
it's becoming worse with AI. People are and they want AI to do everything for them instead of and this is what I'm saying. AI should let you spend more quality time with your clients, not less.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know if you feel this way. I have a lot of friends mutually we have too, and I've seen a lot of friends and really bright, stars, like they're amazing, that temporarily, at least for either days, weeks, or months, some are still there. They got a new job now, and they became this, AI engineer, prompt engineer, instead of focusing on the thing that's the main driver. And yet, and some of the people I'm thinking of, and I won't mention, in my heart and in my head, is they've gotten so busy with it. It's busyness instead of doing real business, and it's become a glorified distraction, a big distraction for most founders we talk to.
Yeah,
because a lot of things that they, bought into, a year ago is outdated, right? It's obsolete. Some people are trying to compete. How are you going to compete with the multi-billion-dollar brands, like beyond temporarily? And so it's figuring out, again, coming back to your customers and your clients, what do they want solved, and start from there. I think that's another big problem we see from the automation, humanization. They forget what is the problem that I solve?
Yeah,
that's most important to my client, and stay true to that. And then anything they create is related in the we'll call it the marketing phase, where they know us, respect us, trust us. Then there's a bridge to just get people to say, yeah, Ian, I'm willing to try what you have, right? Like you have this amazing workshop that like you just make it so easy for people to try you and say yes, that they'd be crazy to say no. It's impossible.
Yep.
If they really have some interest in finding a way to use YouTube to get them more leads and more clients that they want every day, every week, every month, right? So it's moving them from try to buy, which is now the sales side of it. And then there's the fulfillment side, right? And how do you use these things focused on what are my clients' core problems in each of those three buckets, the marketing, the sales, and the fulfillment, and build everything around that. Now, automation can buy time, it can free you up, all these sorts of things. Like when it's not available outside of the medical, we work with a lot of medical companies. And we built basically a sales, we call it the B3X sales co-pilot that we attach to somebody's site. That's basically the founder of the company who's likely to be the best salesperson, presenting their offer, video, audio, text. I mean, it's multidimensional all the way around, and people can interact with this AI verbally, video, can do measurements. Like it's pretty wild what we're able to do with it, and we're constantly evolving it. But these are also patients who are investing a pretty substantial amount of money for certain aesthetics that they will invest in, right? So the value is there for it. But the beauty is now they've got a clone salesperson, essentially, available 24/7.
Yeah.
Way beyond any website could ever. I believe the future is going to be some versions of those things for small business as it becomes more mainstream to become your sales co-pilot, right? There's already certain things for marketing co-pilots. Well, what about a sales co-pilot that literally and part of the reason I get excited about this, so now I may be contradicting myself to a certain point, but the key is know where you're at, where you want to go, but then don't let the stuff get in the way and distract you from your bigger goals, your bigger vision, you being able to build a business that can run without you, which what do you need? You need leads, you need people to know you, you need visibility, you need clients, you need revenue, you need profitability so that you can build to some of the bigger things. But like one of the things that I did years ago that I think is becoming and going to be bigger in the next 10 years. I was maybe just a little bit ahead, but if you can imagine, and I think we've talked about this. So I had struggled, so my struggle turned into an opportunity. Maybe like as you're watching how you've built your businesses. I was struggling to hire salespeople, and I just finally got fed up. Like these people are prima donnas. Like how am I going to build a? So I had this idea. Well, I'm pretty good at the selling part of it. So why don't we hire customer service people who just like people? They love the idea of the romance. They like the idea of trust building, sharing info, being nice, all those sorts of things, but they're usually not good at selling. Like they're terrible usually, to be honest, right? So we created an audio tape. So we literally had 100 reps at the final stages before we sold that were doing an intro rapport building process for 10 minutes. And then they'd play an audio tape that was the Canon clone version of our presentation. It would do the selling, pre-qualified, pre-motivated, pre-interested, and more ready to do business. And if they were on at the end of the tape, we knew that they had a likelihood. And then someone would come on and go, hey, Ian, that was amazing, wasn't it? So the future, I believe, is going to create opportunities for SMB, small, medium businesses, Ian, that give us tools like this to take the founder's knowledge and get it out into practical systems. And that's what we're really good at, is helping our founders be able to do that in a bunch of different ways. So the future is bright. However, don't let it distract you from the main thing, which is people.
Yes, it is. It's definitely a balance that you're going to have. And you can't ignore it, but you can't be obsessed about it either. Well, that's awesome. So Dan, we'll put a link to your YouTube channel in the show notes, and also in the description, we'll put a link to that. And of course, if you want to get recalibrated, you can email Dan at breakthrough3x.com, the number 3. And Dan, is there anything else you'd like everyone to know before we sign off?
Well, I would say this is I challenge as you're watching right now. And if you're in Ian's world, whether it's just today or you've been in his world for a while, is I challenge you to play big, commit to play big. And then as you get more results, continue and challenge yourself to play even bigger. The world needs it more than ever right now. And, you can be a catalyst for good and great if you will. And whether it's Ian or myself or somebody that can help you exponentially connect and grow with simplicity, there are a lot of options, right? And ideally, Ian's or ours or somebody can help suit you, but find a way and don't go at it alone. This is the time, this is the place to be leveraging the wisdom and expertise and stand on the shoulders of giants. And there's lots of them in the market. So find a way.
Awesome. So we'll put a link to all that in the show notes. Remember, play big. And thank you all for making Dan and I part of your story, This Benign Garlic and the Garlic Marketing Show.
If you'd like to learn more about how Dan helps you grow your business with less stress and get a system in place to get more leads, appointments, and clients profitably, let's review your business and have a conversation. Go to breakthrough3x.com. Apply now.